Just the other day, I've actually found my old notebook from 1995 or maybe 1996, but it sure started 1995 and the notes are forward. And that was a notebook which I had when preparing the samples for growth in microgravity. So it was a project by European Space Agency, and I was hired to help out with the experimental setup for the researchers. And at that time, I entered the graduate studies. At that time, there was nothing like PhD position. You were enrolling for graduate studies. And I did careful notes. They were okay. I was a beginner. This was my first project after the university. I had some experimental work in the diploma thesis, which was about electrochemical etching. But this project activity was about crystal growth by liquid phase epitaxy. New things. And I documented so we could develop things and be sure as much as possible that when we put the samples on the sounding rocket Maser 7 and it went up 7 minutes of microgravity, that the experimental setup would be fine. And it worked out. We have a paper on that, or two papers, on those experiments. But the thing about documentation is that it's nice now, 30 years later, to see this notebook and doing these cool things about growth in microgravity. But documentation is essential, and especially today. Now, more and more is needed to document what you have done. So you can verify this if someone is asking about your graphs and all these things for publishing, but also for the future when you are doing the impact, transform knowledge and next steps, then you can evidence the things and you have the data. And then you can do some things and then you can show that this paper supports the usefulness from this data which you have done. And today, all innovations and new things, products, they will be part of a value chain which will share information of data. Sharing data is super important for the value chain to be relevant. So this makes extra necessary steps in the work to document more. Fortunately, there are computers, so you can have support of that. I did not have any lab computer at that time. It was notebooks and writing on pen and then putting it into a Macintosh, the first Macintosh which appeared at that time. I remember it was hilarious to write and stuff. But you need to document, and now you can do it in more ways, and then you can use this data to create values for business and sustainability, but also for your career, because it is documented in a digital way what you have done, and this will be there forever. So documentation is super important, sharing data is super important, and those things we need to consider much more than we did before.